Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. First of all, I wanted to apologize in advance if my voice ever sounds stuffy here. I recently got sick and I'm just now getting over it, so I still have a few symptoms left over, but I felt well enough to record a video and I really wanted to, so here we are. And today, we're going to be talking about K-pop in 2022 as a whole so far, and specifically the reasons why I feel like it's been bad. If you're familiar with my channel and my content, you know that I usually tend to keep things positive on here, but it's always fun to switch it up once in a while, so I thought this would be a fun way to do that. I have 5 points written down that I view as the main reasons why I haven't been enjoying K-pop as much as I could be, and though I still view 2022 as a pretty good year, no year in K-pop is going to be absolutely perfect, and it's fun to discuss how it could be improved. Everything in here is just my opinion, so if you disagree, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And without further ado, let's start this video by talking about point number 1. So the first thing that I wanted to start this discussion with is my opinion on the rookie groups that have debuted in this year so far, and how I view literally every single one of them to be somewhat underwhelming. There's been a decent amount of rookie groups that have debuted under really good companies, but I haven't been able to latch on to any of them, and I haven't added a single 2022 rookie group to my stan list. With the exception of Kepler, though they probably wouldn't be there if I didn't keep up with the entirety of Girls Planet. And the main reason why I haven't been able to jump on board with any of these 2022 rookie groups is that I feel like their music hasn't left that much of an impact on me. You know, by this time in 2021, we already had Hot Issue, Purple Kiss, Pixie, and Mirai, and most of those groups I added to my stan list and still have music that I go back to today. But I rarely to never listen to music from any of the 2022 rookie groups at all. I would say that the only rookie song from this year that I consistently listen to is Bad News by Tempest, but I'm still not that interested in Tempest as a group because I listened to all of their debut B-sides and none of them were really for me. And I feel like it's pretty rare for me to go through 5 months of a year and not have any new K-pop groups that I view as standout rookies. And I think I can confidently say that 2022 rookies don't really hold a candle to the groups that debuted in 2021. I did a little bit of research as to groups that are going to debut in June, and the lineup doesn't really look that good at all, with the only one that has any potential in my eyes being Lapillus, which has Shauna from Girls Planet, but the group does come from the same company as Momoland, so you know even if they get successful, they're still going to find a way to ruin them. And overall, compared to other years especially, 2022 has to be one of the worst years when it comes to new K-pop groups. So moving on to my next point for this video, I feel like 2022 hasn't been the best year for boy groups so far, and the music and influence that they've had on the K-pop scene isn't really that noticeable. Looking at the Korean charts, literally the only boy groups that are showing up there are Big Bang, BTS, and occasionally NCT, and considering those are all late 2nd to 3rd gen groups, it kind of feels like literally no 4th gen boy group is making any waves in the K-pop scene. And since most of the 2nd and 3rd gen boy groups aren't really that active anymore, and if they're gonna have a comeback, they're gonna have like one comeback a year, since I kind of consider myself to enjoy boy groups and Velvet and the list just goes on, but I guess I sort of just wanted to see a more equal balance of relevancy in 2022, and it feels aren't really making the same amount of noise outside of their fandoms than they used to. I don't know if it's just me, but outside of Carrots and Aroha's, I haven't seen anybody talking about these groups' comebacks this year, and it's kind of wingle boy group because I feel like boy groups have been putting out pretty good music this year. I also have a personal problem surrounding boy groups this year because a lot of my favorites have not had a comeback yet. I know Ateez released that music video for one of their Japanese comebacks, and MCND released Juice, which was the special song that they performed at their tours, but neither of them have had official comebacks yet, and since they're my top 2 boy groups right now, I've kind of just been like, I don't know, there's something missing from boy groups for me. But I do think that Ateez have a comeback confirmed for July, I think, and I'm pretty sure MCND are gonna have a comeback in July as well, which means I won't have to wait for too much longer, but it's been a little bit painful not having them release as much music as I want them to. So my third point is that I feel like Big 3/Big 4 releases haven't been the best this year. You know, every single company is gonna have some releases that are good and some that are bad, and it's not a big deal if you don't have the best releases every once in a while. But outside of literally only NCT Dream, Red Velvet, and Stray Kids, Big 4 releases just haven't really been doing it for me. Some groups like iKON have had comebacks that don't really compare to their previous work in my opinion, and then Blackpink and Twice just haven't released music at all this year. And I mean, I get it, Twice have been touring for the past, 6 months at this point, but I'm just saying that the big 4 companies haven't really been stepping it up as much as they used to, I feel. Some of these groups have been going through really drastic concept changes that I don't really enjoy, but I'll elaborate further on that in the next point. But in general, I feel like the music that these companies have been putting out isn't up to the standards that they set up themselves by releasing amazing music in earlier years. And it's been kind of interesting seeing how groups from smaller companies have been kind of taking the reins, at least when it comes to the influence influence on the K-pop scene. I feel like with the exception of Feel My Rhythm, no big four K-pop comeback has really been able to match up to the influence of Love Dive, Tomboy, Run to You, or even Warada internationally, which is kind of like the big four in the dust clouds of these other groups. Of course, like I said before, a lot of the big four artists just haven't had comebacks yet, and since ITZY and Aespa just confirmed July comebacks, I'm sure I'll be able to take this back soon, but for now the big four haven't left too much of an impact on 2022, and I really need these companies to get their head back in the game, because it feels like they've been slacking, and I do not like that. Moving on to point number 4, we have the unnecessary concept changes from groups that had something good going for them. In one of my more recent videos, I went pretty deep into this, so I'm not going to go that far into it this time. Of course, we have the most obvious example of this, Weeekly, who went from After School to Venpara. I do not know what happened there. But then you also have your other groups such as TXT, AB6, 17. And while they might have done a darker concept in the past, they've started to sort of drift away from the brighter concepts completely. And they're losing the thing that made these groups unique at first. So now these boy groups are sort of starting to blend in with each other. And then there are also groups like Purple Kiss, The Boyz, and ONEUS, who while they might not have changed their concept, their music has sort of been going downhill in quality. Of course, this all just comes down to personal preference, but I do feel like I'm in the majority opinion when it comes to these topics. And in 2022, it feels like a lot of these groups who had really solid cohesive discographies are sort of dropping the ball when it comes to their creative direction. And as someone who's a pretty big fan of a lot of the groups that I just mentioned, it kind of makes me anxious as to if another one of my favorite groups is gonna kind of go in a different creative direction that I don't like. On the flip side of this though, we have groups like Astro who are returning to their roots, or Aespa who kind of switch it up every single time they come back, but do it in a really good way. So it hasn't really become a trend to change things up in a bad way, it's just certain groups do different things. And maybe in the later half of 2022, any group that does go through a serious concept change is gonna do it in a good way. I'll just have to wait and see. Which leads us into my final point, which is that the first half of 2022, when it comes to the music, hasn't really been the best. As someone who tries to listen to as much of the new music as I can, I feel like I can count the amount of mini albums and full albums that I enjoyed in full on less than 2 hands. And considering in the recent years there's basically a new K-pop release every single day, that's less than 10 comebacks that I've enjoyed in full over 150 days, and that's not really the best ratio to me. You know, we had Promise's DM album, Billie's Ginga Minga Yo album, Red Velvet's Feel My Rhythm album, and I'd also throw in Gravity's Adrenaline, Kang Daniel's Upside Down, and NCT Dream's Glitch Mode in there too. But besides these comebacks, and maybe a few more, to me, all of the other comebacks that I've listened to have had at least a few major flaws. Either that, or the comeback just came with like 1 or 2 songs, and I'm looking at you, DKZ, and IVE. And I guess it's just not the best ratio that for every good comeback that I come across, there are like 2 or 3 other ones that are just kind of mediocre or plain out bad to me. But I'm hoping that throughout the later half of the year and June, this ratio gets a little bit better. But all that I can do to ensure that is just cross my fingers and hope. And that wraps up everything that I had to say for this video. Now I know what you're thinking, wow, you must really hate K-pop. But in this video I was just talking about the things that I didn't enjoy about the year, and there have been a lot of really good things about it too. So maybe if this video does well enough, I'll make a part 2 and talk about the things that I enjoyed. As always, make sure to let me know what you thought about this video in the comment section below, and if you have anything that you want to complain about regarding K-pop in 2022, feel free to complain all you want in the comment section too. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, consider subscribing or sharing this video to your friends. Once again, sorry that my voice sounds kind of weird, I am still a little bit sick, but I did really enjoy making this video, so hopefully you enjoyed watching it too. Thank you all again so much for watching, and without further ado, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.